I'm not suggesting a model that's my idea of how to do church. I'm telling you what the church told us to do. The evangelization document from the Second Vatican Council, I left all the Latin terms because some people like that, so you look it up. I have a sheet I can give you with all these on here, so we'll talk about that in a second. But modern man listens more willingly to witnesses than to teachers. What do we call the individuals who stand before our kids every week to instruct them in the faith? And a catechist is a what? A teacher. What do most Catholics feel about witnesses? When you hear witnesses or giving a testimony, what is the first impression that comes into your head?
Well, there is a language issue there. Yeah, it's very evangelical.
That's right.
Off-putting.
That's right. Now, here's the fun part of all of this. Where did the evangelical church really get this notion of testifying? It's Catholics. The evangelical church, as we know it today, really got its roots in the 70s in Los Angeles. When it was really going, and Billy Graham was, of course, a driving force, and there were others. Now people refer to, the mega churches, the Rick Warrens and Saddleback and the Bill Hybels, who was in Chicago at Willow Creek. I mean, these are monster. Joel Osteens, right? Like the monsters of them. In that group, obviously, you had Billy Graham, and really Bill Hybels was the first one to really make this mega church with multiple campuses. He was the first one to really kind of do that in a significant way. And all the other evangelical churches kind of watched his model. It's the Bill Hybels model of ministry. Bill Hybels is the first to admit that he learned that from the Catholic Church, from reading the Catholic Church's documents on RCIA. It's fascinating to me, right? And Rick Warren, who may be like, oh, Rick Warren, purpose-driven life. The thing that got Rick Warren in trouble with most of the evangelical churches is he's spending way too much time with the Catholics. Because he's realizing, and all of his campuses, there are multiple Saddleback sites, are beginning to read Catholic documents at his request. The encyclicals from the Pope. Bill Hybels in Chicago did the same thing. When they do their small group studies, and they often do it in a series, the series that they are choosing for their church communities are the Catholic documents. It's fascinating to me. Why? Because there's truth there, but they're doing it better than we are. What's the difference between a witness and a teacher? A witness, if you think about a courtroom, legal term, right? A witness testifies to what they have seen, right? A first-hand witness. In fact, a secondary witness is not even, you're not going to put them on the stand, right? Because you weren't there, so now it's hearsay, I can dismiss you pretty quick. But a first-hand witness has what we call credibility. Whereas a teacher typically is passing on someone else's information. When Jesus spoke in parables, he did everything in story form that related to the audience he was speaking to. Because he knew that stories people are drawn to because they can relate to it. When we teach out of a book and we simply go by whatever the book says, and at no point do the individuals testify not to what they believe, but why they believe it. So the litmus test on this one that I always give staffs when we're working with them is people are, well, we pray together. We're a pretty good team when we pray together with them. And I said, great. Now I'm going to put that to the test. Do you all know each other's faith story? Do you know how each one of you on this staff came to believe not here, but here? What do you think the answer is? No. And yet these are the ones who are supposed to be leading. If the people who work day in and day out refuse to get to that level of community, which is a whole different level of community, correct? If those individuals refuse to get to that level, why would the parishioners ever go there? And who's modeling it for them? How many of our catechists stand in a classroom or Catholic school teachers stand in a classroom and speak to how God came into their lives? And here's what I know about faith. I may not know all the technical, but here's what I know. This is what God did for me. How many of our catechists are doing that? How many of our Catholic school teachers are doing that? How many of our staff at those adult conference things that we do are doing that? How many priests are speaking that way when they preach? How many deacons are speaking that way when they preach? And yet our own documents said that's what we should be doing throughout everything. Because people can relate to personal witness. I'm drawn to you. I want to know more about your story. Knowledge in absence of application is just knowledge, correct? The story gives it the glue. So if we only teach from a factual standpoint, then we're actually not really teaching. We're teaching facts. Let's go back to the young people who are struggling to connect. They're learning stuff. It's not like we're not giving them books. That's not what's happening in our parishes. But they have no place to put it when their brains are realigning, trying to say, how does this fit with my reality? And nobody has helped them to understand that. The model for all catechesis or education is the baptismal catechumenate, fancy word for RCIA. The model for all formation is RCIA. Not just kids, everybody. So what's the RCIA model?